and I quote, "I'll be there in a minute. Give me a second."
Time is relative, folks. Time is relative.
Yes. So, hey, cheers to everybody in the chat.
They're a division rival. I don't care how many wins they get. Screw them.
That wasn't the take I was expecting to hear.
I want to gush over watching live Chris Tanev.
I think that we completely underestimate the skill it takes to play defense.
One highlight or several highlights does not a Calder trophy make.
I'm stepping in here. I'm going to be the crotchety old man here. They need to learn patience. They need to understand the tension, and everything, and the drama.
How dare! Look at this. How is McDavid not getting a penalty?
You guys need to calm down with this, okay? You guys need to calm down with it.
And hello, and welcome to the Ships and Pucks News Pack for the Monday, February the 6th, as we are back from the All-Star break into the second half of the year. Of course, you can follow us on Twitter at Shifts and Pucks, Facebook.com Shifts and Pucks, YouTube.com Shifts and Pucks, Twitch.com Shifts and Pucks. Subscribe wherever you get your audio, as well as on the Area 51 Sports Network. And so we're back. The All-Star game happened, All-Star weekend. All of the festivities there happened. To be honest with you, it's not something I spent a lot of time watching, just not my personal thing. If you enjoyed that kind of thing, that's great, but it wasn't for me, but that's okay. Everybody has different things to do, and that's cool. But we're back, second half of the year. The playoff push is on. And before we go anywhere, just for interest's sake, let's look at what the potential playoff matches would be if the playoffs started today. We did this at American Thanksgiving. Of course, with the theory that if you're in the playoffs at American Thanksgiving, you have a good chance of being in the playoffs all the time. So we've got from the American Thanksgiving, we'll go back. We have Tampa Bay versus Boston would have been the first round matchup. Detroit versus Toronto, the Rangers versus the Devils, the Carolina versus the Islanders in the East. That would have been the first round matchup. In the West, we would have had St. Louis versus Vegas, Calgary versus Dallas, the Kings versus Seattle, and Winnipeg versus Colorado. In the East, let's look here in what's happened now. You've got the Bruins would host the Pittsburgh Penguins. The Washington Capitals would face the Carolina Hurricanes. You have Tampa Bay facing Toronto, and you have the Rangers facing New Jersey. So Pittsburgh and Washington, if we look, last time, we're not in a playoff situation, but we're not in the playoffs last time. And the Detroit and the Islanders are out. So 6 of the 8 so far in the East. In the West, St. Louis versus Vegas was the first round matchup as of American Thanksgiving. The Flames are facing Dallas, LA versus Seattle, Winnipeg, Colorado, as mentioned. In the West, the matchups would go as follows. You would have Colorado as the second wild card team taking on Dallas, Edmonton taking on Seattle, Minnesota versus Winnipeg, Vegas versus Los Angeles. So you had Edmonton out last time, Calgary, and Calgary is out. You had Minnesota in last time as well, and St. Louis out. So 6 of the 8 in both of these situations are still in a playoff battle. So that's where we're at in terms of that part of it. So we'll see what happens as the end goes on here. And then as far as some other notes here from the All-Star game, Bettman spoke. That's maybe the most important. Well, I mean, that was the newsworthy stuff other than the game, which, Matthew Tkachuk was the MVP, all that sort of stuff. The Toronto Maple Leafs are hosting the All-Star game next weekend. And of course, so that will be the first time that the Toronto's hosted the NHL All-Star Game in 2000. They hosted the NBA All-Star Game back in 2016. And what else did they talk about? He was asked about the Flyers and the New York Rangers situation with Pride tonight. And this is what Bettman said, you know what our goals and our values and intentions are across the league, whether it's important that's at the league level or at the club level. We also have to respect some individual choice and how some people are more comfortable embracing causes than others. Part of being diverse and welcoming is understanding those differences. So that's addressing the Ivan Provorov situation where he did not wear a Pride jersey, and the New York Rangers, of course, not wearing Pride jerseys there during their Pride night as well. By the way, when the Rangers come to Vancouver, that will be the Canucks Pride night as well. And World Cup, asked about that. The Bettman said we express their desires to work together on a variety of fronts. I know it's important to the players and they would like to play in the Olympics, but certain things are going to have to be done by some combination of the International Olympic Committee, the International Ice Hockey Federation, and the local organizing committee for that to become a reality. And there's still they want to bring the World Cup back on a regular schedule, but all of the politics there as well. And so and at the Board of Governors meeting back in December, Batman, if you remember, this has been a big question, indicated the salary cap might not rise by more than $1 million for next season. Not much has changed since then, and Daly didn't indicate it was a front burner issue right now. So that was some of the big things that they were looking at. So that was some of the newsworthy stuff that came from Gary Bettman and Bill Daly from the All-Star Weekend. And then yesterday, the big news coming out Sunday was the extension that Bo Horvat signed with the New York Islanders. Of course, he was acquired last Monday. We broke that down, the trade down. We did not think that Bo Horvat would sign with the Islanders, and it turns out we were wrong. 8 years, $8.5 billion. So he's going to play tonight against the New York Philadelphia Flyers. And so that's one of 6 games tonight. Horvat is expected to be on a line with Matthew Barzal and Josh Bailey. Then you have Brock Nelson, Anders Lee, Kyle Palmieri, Jean-Gabriel Pageau, Zach Parise, Simon Holmstrom, and Casey Kazikas, Matt Martin, and Hudson Fasching is the Lions combination for the New York Islanders, with Varlamov getting the call and goal. And Carter Hart for the Flyers. But we'll start with the Flames here. They are playing the New York Rangers tonight. They, of course, are, as we mentioned, out of the playoff right now. If the playoffs started today, they are tied with Colorado in points, but the Avs have 2 games in hand, 24-17-9. The Rangers, of course, have been playing very well. 16-4-3 since December the 4th, 27-14-8 overall. 3rd place and 6 points behind the Devils. The Flames will start Jacob Markstrom in goal tonight. They did call up Jacob Palche and Dennis Gilbert. They did activate Chris Tanev from IR yesterday. They did not bring up Walker Dewar. So the lines for the Flames will look like this: Lindholm, Dubé, and Toffoli, Kadri, Pelche, and Huberdeau. I think that's a good line. I think I really like that line. And then you have that Backlund, Mangiapane, Coleman line. That was the lines we discussed. Ruzicka, Lucic, and Lewis is the 4th line. I would like to see Walker Dewar up, but that's not the case right now, and I think that's salary cap and a couple of other things. Hanifin and Anderson, Weegar and Tanev, Zadorov and Stone, Jacob Markstrom getting the call in goal, with Mackey, Gilbert, and Brett Ritchie being scratched. The Rangers will bring in Mika Zibanejad, or Panarin, and Jimmy Vesey, Vincent Trocheck, Chris Kreider, Barclay Goodrow, Philip Cheeto, Alexis Lafreniere, Capo Caco, Jake Leschyshyn, Will Cooley, Sammy Blais as the lines. This defense, watch, it is an underrated defense when you look at Adam Fox and Ryan Lindgren, Jacob Trouba, K. Miller, and Braden Schneider and Ben Harper. Yaroslav Halak will get the call in goal. Just staying on the Flames for a few moments here. Brad Treliving spoke here in terms of what the did an interview here recently, talked about the trade deadline, talked a little bit about Oliver Shillington as well, and he spoke with NHL.com, was where he had the interview with and as far as if the Flames are buyers or sellers, it was something, again, we addressed on last Monday's podcast, which, by the way, is on the Fireside podcast as well. Treliving said that would like to add that his team hasn't told him yet. We've got some work to do to get ourselves into a better position than we currently are. They've been up and down, and consistently, there has been some inconsistency in our game, which we're all here. So we'd like to help, but you've got to be careful how far you chase in the position we're in. So that's that. It was said that we've got players in the past that have shown that they can be really, really good players. So it's, for me, we're in the position we're in, and it's not like we've got a bunch of guys having career years. Lots left in the tank with our group is capable of, both individually and then collectively. If we're sitting here firing all cylinders, and there's been some good real hockey, we've been able to go on blocks. We're gaining points. It's not 2 points every night, but you're able to cobble to get some points. That gives you some hope. For Oliver Shillington, asked about if they need some clarity on that. They certainly do. Things are at work behind the scenes. Certainly something we want to have clarity as soon as we possibly can. They do want to be supportive, have been, but certainly clarity that there's going to be required as we get closer to March 3rd. So that's been, you can see that interview on NHL.com, but Treliving has talked about, had some things to say there. So that's what's going on with the Flames as they head into the All-Star break here, or back from the All-Star break and into the second half of the year. Pretty important trip for them here. It's a 5-game road trip heading east. You've got the Red Wings Thursday. You've got the Sabres on a 9:30 a.m. game Saturday, Pacific time, 10:30 Mountain. And then you've got also Ottawa Monday, and then you're back home for the next Thursday against the New York Rangers. As for the Canucks, of course, this is the post-Bo Horvat news. So they did call up Pod Colson, Neil Zaman, and Philip Di Giuseppe got called up. And so that is what is that part of it. And as far as the lines for tonight, of course, the other news is the A's will be on Pettersson, Hughes, JT Miller, and OEL. So no captain as of this point, and there shouldn't be. Quite frankly, I think that this is just a team that needs to organically set that up, and maybe you go even into next year without a C. Not sure about that, but that is what is going on there. And of course, they got Atu Ratti debuting with the Abbotsford Canucks. The lines for the Canucks tonight are Pettersson, Kuzmenko, and Anthony Beauvillier will make his debut on that line. JT Miller, Dakota Joshua, Connor Garland, Sheldon Rise, Pod Colson, and Besser, Amon, Giuseppe, and Lazar is the fourth line. Hughes and Bear, OEL and Shen, Myers and Stillman, with Colin Dillia getting the call and goal. So Dermott, Burrows, Peterson, and Studnicka are scratched. Of course, you've got a number of injuries as well, including William Lockwood. Ilya Mikheyev has been put on LTIR as well. For the Devils, who are a very impressive team, of course, sitting in second place. Hischer Barat is line 1. Jack Hughes, Sharon Govich, and Setterlin line 2. Holla, Tatar, and Dawson Mercer. And then you got Michael McLeod, Miles Wood, and Nathan Bastian. Jonas Siegenthaler, Dougie Hamilton, Ryan Graves, David Severson, Brendan Smith, John Marino, with Vitek Vedacek getting the call and goal. Kevin Ball, Alexander Holtz, and Jesper Boquist are the scratches tonight. So that's that game there. The Devils, they got up to that really hot start. They're still keeping up. A lot of people are putting Jack Hughes in the MVP conversation. I think the MVP conversation has been wrapped up. It's clearly Connor McDavid, but you have to have 3 nominees, and a lot of people have Jack Hughes as a nominee. Be interested to see what happens with this Devils team in the second half of the year. They made a lot of strides. Lindy Ruff has been a successful coach, but this is going to be a new step for them. So we'll see where they're at this point in time. As far as the 4 other games in the National Hockey League tonight, we've got the 3 other games. We talked a little bit about the Islanders and Flyers. You got the battle in Florida with the Lightning taking on the Panthers. The Panthers right now are just 3 points behind Pittsburgh for a final playoff spot. So big game for them to start. Tampa will start Andrei Vasilevsky. You've got the Matthew Tkachuk momentum here, so we'll see what happens there. Sergei Bobrovsky is back in goal for Florida. You've got also the Ducks and Stars. Ducks 16, 29, and 5. Stars 28, 13, and 10. And John Gibson getting the call for the Ducks and goal, and Jake Ottinger getting the call in goal for the Stars, and the Minnesota Wild taking on the Arizona Coyotes, with Marc-Andre Fleury getting the call in goal for Minnesota, and Carl Vejmelka getting the call for Arizona. As far as some other injury news, here as we're getting ourselves back into the swing of things here. John Marino is back. By the way, he hasn't played in 17 games. He was acquired in the offseason from Pittsburgh, so he's back. And said the All-Star break helped, so that's going to be good. 3 goals, 6 assists, 32 games. Colorado, who has faced a number of injuries, will get Bowen Byram back when they play the Penguins tomorrow. He's been out since November 5th with a lower body injury. 2 goals, 3 assists, and 5 points this year. And of course, Jonathan Toews is missed his second straight day of practice, non-COVID related illness, likely not playing against the Ducks tomorrow as well. And as well, the other injury news, Sergei Bobrovsky will start. He's missed 5 games with a lower body injury. So we talked about that. That's going to be an interesting game. Much not must win for Florida, but certainly want to get the momentum going there. And so that is getting Bobrovsky back, helping the depth of that goaltending anyway. You could say what you want about Sergei Bobrovsky, but 3.24 goals against average and an .897 save percentage. The Philadelphia Flyers have been I don't think a lot of things were expected from the Philadelphia Flyers this year. They did bring John Tortorella here, and they sent a letter to their fans, or their season ticket holders, about an update on the team. Tortorella said his group is in the midst of establishing an identity. And at the beginning of the season, we sailed out to build a foundation for the future and a standard for flow. We're going to play night in and night out. Now that we're halfway through the season, I want to share with you what I've seen from these guys. I've been pleased with our team's effort, drive, and hunger to compete. And more importantly, I hope you've noticed this too. I love the way that our team has consistently responded to the challenges we face, both as an individual and as a group. And throughout the locker room, our players are showing a full commitment. But I'm not going to lie to you. We're not there yet. This year was the first step in building the future of the Flyers and restoring a reputation as one of the most respected teams in hockey. So, said, the New York Rangers did this a few years ago, saying that they needed to take a step. The Flyers we're going to rebuild. Well, I mean, you could look at that as they're in a restore, whatever reword you wish to use. But so it'll be interesting to see what they are doing at the trade deadline. You've got Sean Couturier out long term. You've got Travis Konecny, who's been connected to a lot of trade talk. They've got some defensemen a lot of people like as well. Not only included Ivan Provorov. You got Travis Sanheim has been a name mentioned in trade rumors as well. Should be interesting to see. The Flyers might be an interesting team in terms of trying to get some of those type of players. They did get a good player in Owen Tippett in the Claude Giroux trade last time. So I'll be interested to see what the Flyers do as we get closer to the trade deadline, which is less than a month away, March the 3rd. It's on a Friday, by the way. Bo Horvat, of course, was one of the big names. He's gone. Of course, Brock Besser now, one of the names. Lots of other names. Patrick Kane, Jonathan Toews. We'll see what happens as this goes on here. What will the Canucks do? What will the Flames do? Etc. Etc. The AHL had their skills game last night, or skills All-Star break as well. And so their All-Star game is tonight. They had their skills competition last night in Laval. And so they'll have that 3-on-3, and then they'll get back to regular games on Friday. So they'll have a break. The WHL here, just to touch on them. Player of the week is from the Prince Albert Raiders, Landon Coisier, defenseman, 8 points, 3 goals, 5 assists, 8 points in 4 games. Goalie of the week, Talon Boyko. He made 51 saves for the Kelowna Rockets in 1 game this week. The Blazers have booked a spot in the playoffs as they get themselves ready for the for the Memorial Cup that they're hosting later and they want to see where they're sitting right now. And then Connor Bedard had his 38 game point streak snapped on the weekend as well. And of course, he's been the talk of the town. Obviously, the guy that everybody wants, first pick of the draft, and all of next year's draft without question. I don't think that is going to be there. Any question about that? And but Lee continues to lead the league, and as it was 35 games, but the Pats were able to win to beat Lethbridge in that game 3-2. So he's back on that score. He's back on the score streak again. Special player, super talented. Will be interesting to see who he gets. No games tonight. We have 3 games tomorrow. Standings as we go in. Eastern Conference led by the Winnipeg Ice, 37-7-1 with 75 points. Red Deer Rebels, 34-11-1 at 72 points. Is in second. Saskatoon, 68 points. Moose Jaw, 67 points. Lethbridge, 59. Hitman, 53. Calgary Hitman, 53. Bedard's Pats, 51. And the Medicine Hat Tigers with 50. In the West, the Seattle Thunderbirds, the perennial favorites right now for the Western Conference Championship. 74 points, 36-9-1. The Kamloops Blazers 31-10-4 and 2 at 68. Portland at 73. So those three have clinched. Then you got the Tri-City Americans at 55 points, the Everett Silvertips 52 points, Prince George 46, and the Vancouver Giants at 44. So that's the standings in the WHL. And that is the news pack for Monday, February 6th. We will be back for another podcast later on this week. We'll get that schedule set out there. But we'll have our news pack again tomorrow. And reminder, check out the Fireside podcast as well for Flames talk as well. And you can follow us all individually on Twitter. Sean Beardy Canucks 03, Tyler TNOBLE, Christian Schneids SCHNAIDZ, Devin Gordhow 09. I am KEVOLE. Shifts and Pucks, Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, Twitch. Subscribe wherever you get your audio, as well as on the Area 51 Sports Network. Thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. We'll talk to you all very soon. Bye for now.